Hello friends, and welcome back to Tales and Tales with Brittany. My name's Brittany, Mr. Bean is somewhere getting up to no good, and today we are going to be going over my August wrap-up. August was quite the month for me in that I slumped hard. On average, I tend to read between 8 and 15 books a month. 8 books if I'm reading a lot more thicker books or it's kind of a more busier month socially for me. 15 books if we are in a really intense readathon, or I've had a lot of books roll over from the previous month that only had a little bit left to them. Whereas this month, I read and finished a total of 4 books and DNF'd 1. That is atrocious. I do definitely have a few books that I am rolling over from the previous month. So I'm rolling over from August into September, and hopefully I'll get a few of those books done relatively quickly going into September, since I do have a very large September TBR ahead of me. That's definitely going to be interesting. Let's move on into the books that I read. I started the month by reading Mother of Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. This is the third and final book in the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. Essentially, I do have this series finished now, which is fantastic. There is the prologue mini novella called Ashen Sun that I do intend to still read. That is about Max Antarius prior to all of the events of the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. Overall, I really did enjoy Mother of Death and Dawn. Quite a large book. The audiobook is 21 hours long, and the book itself is 722 pages. I do wish that it was slightly shorter, and it did take me a little bit of time to get back into the story. Even though I did read Children of Fallen Gods earlier in the year in April, I did find that there was a lot of the story that I had forgotten previously, that I kind of needed a mini refresher in order to kind of read Mother of Death and Dawn. Overall, I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed what we were able to see from the 3 different points of view. Overall, I did really enjoy the story arc that Carissa Broadbent took us on across these 3 books. When you were in kind of the heads or in the point of view of Max Antarius, of Desana, and of Aoife, you could tell that you were in a different person. They were all very distinctly written. It was very much a beautiful story. The world building was very rich. The magic system was unique. It was very interesting kind of seeing the clash between different races and the undertone of slavery, and seeing slaves trying to free themselves from their enslavement. I will definitely be reading Ashen Sun at some point kind of in the near-ish future, hopefully before the end of the year, to get this series kind of off my series list. And I will definitely be continuing reading books from Carissa Broadbent. Really excited to eventually get to the Crowns of Nyaxia series, because I've heard that Serpents and the Wings of Night is quite a wonderful story. So definitely excited to continue in that. Next, I read The Orc and the Innkeeper by Cora Crane. This is a monster romance between an orc named Thorak and a human named Mariah. There is a fake engagement situation in that Thorak is hoping to get an investor into his company, but in order to do that, he needs to have kind of a human on his side, whereas Mariah is in need of a little bit of money in order to help renovate or deal with an infestation in the inn that she runs. Rated this book 3.5 stars. Overall, I enjoyed the book. It didn't blow me out of the water. It was exactly what I expected a monster romance set in a small town to be, especially with the tropes that it was advertised as. Overall, I did enjoy it. I will continue on in the Elderberry Falls series. So unfortunately, this does mean I am adding a new series to my list, but that's okay. The third book that I read in the month of August was Smoke in the Sun by Renee Audier. This book is the second book and the conclusion to the Flame in the Mist duology, which is advertised as a Legend of Mulan retelling. It is kind of fantastical elements. It has also been kind of transported from taking place in China to taking place in Japan. Overall, I did enjoy this book and I did enjoy the series. I did feel as though it was a series that you probably did need to read in short succession. I read the first book last year in, I believe, May, and then I didn't read the second book until August of this year. I found difficulties jumping into book 2 without first having kind of a recap of book 1, but overall I did enjoy reading a story that takes place in a non-Western perspective. I did find that kind of the conclusion of the last 10% of the book A lot kind of happened and it felt like it wrapped up relatively too quickly. There was just parts of it that were just a little bit too convenient in the ending, which kind of brought it down from a 4-star to a 3.5 star. Overall, I did enjoy it while I was reading it, but there was nothing that made me want to kind of pick it up after I put it down. It was kind of a little bit forgettable, I did find, but overall, I enjoyed the story, and it was nice to read a book that was set in a non-Western setting. The last book that I finished in the month of August was Mirror Sight by Kristen Britton. This is the 5th book in the Green Rider series. I have been rereading through the series in anticipation of the 8th book coming out at the end of September. I will say, based on my current trajectory of reading, I am definitely not going to be done my reread of the series in time. I have 2 more full books that are very chunky, over 700 pages each, and then 2 novellas that I still want to get to before I am even thinking about starting book 8. So I'm kind of considering to maybe make book 8 my first read of 2026. I think that's a little bit more realistic to me at the current rate that I'm going, in order to fit essentially 2.5 books in before I can read the final book. Overall, I did enjoy this book. Otherwise, I wouldn't be rereading the series, and it wouldn't be my all-time favorite series. It is kind of the most controversial book so far out of the entire series. It does take quite a bit of a departure from kind of the main storyline. There is aspects of it that do make you think, what is the purpose of this book? Why did it even happen? But overall, I did enjoy it as a more of a romantasy reader and romantasy girly. I would rate Mirror Sight on this reread a 4.5 stars. Overall, I did really enjoy the book. Kind of 95% of the book is quite enjoyable to me. There is just kind of 5% of the book that essentially feels like it's retconned everything that happened. I did also DNF a book this month. I DNF'd Mafia Scars, which is the 2nd book in the Accidental Mafia Queen series. Overall, I have found that kind of between book 1 and book 2, at least from what I remembered since I read book 1 over 3 years ago, it felt very inconsistent. Overall, the book was reading to be about a 2.5 to a 3-star read. I did enjoy it in the beginning, but then it felt like it was really repetitive. It was being really tropey. Our characters were kind of quite 1 to 2 dimensional. There wasn't a lot of depth going on, so overall I did decide to cut my losses, not continue on the book, and take a series off of my currently reading set list. There are 5 books that I'm carrying on into the month of September. The first one is Dracula. This is an intentional long-term read, as I am reading it along with Dracula Daily, in which I am kind of reading each journal entry kind of on the actual date that it occurs, and the final date is in November, so I will be continuing on reading this kind of more over the next few months. I'm also bringing over The League of Gentlewomen Witches, which is the 2nd book in the Dangerous Damsel series by India Holton. Overall, I'm enjoying this book and definitely wanting to continue. It's quirky, it's fun. I am about 25% of my way through the book, so just going to continue it on and expect to finish it kind of in the first week of September. I'm also carrying over The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I would say I am about kind of 50% of the way through this book. I was really enjoying this book when I was focusing on it, but then I realized I wasn't making a lot of progress, and I really wanted to finish kind of a few of the books that I was reading for my series vlog, so I kind of set this down, and I still have to get myself to pick it back up. But I'm really enjoying this story. Really like the tension that is going on and the banter between our 2 main characters, and I do really like the Goliath character. As everyone said, it is quite the highlight of the book. Looking forward to continue on. Rachel Gillig is a master at kind of the gothic atmosphere, and I'm really excited that this is kind of a series that I will have a lot more to read down the road. I'll also be carrying Windweaver over into the month of September. I have been reading this book since July. Overall, when I am reading it, I am really enjoying it. I think it's just falling victim to the point that I have kind of multiple romantasy books currently on the go, and it just hasn't hit a point yet where it's kind of really grabbing on and holding my attention. I think I just need to set some time aside and focus this being on my sole book, and then hopefully I should be able to continue. The very last book that I'm carrying over into the month of September is Frostbite by Rochelle Mead. This is the 2nd book in the Vampire Academy series. I was trying to race through finishing this book in time for the live show that was on August 31st, and unfortunately I only got to the point where I had 45 pages left in the book, and then because I didn't finish it in time for the live show, I promptly stopped. So definitely need to continue this on. Hopefully I am able to finish this as well within the first few days of September, as I am hoping to dwindle down my currently reading series. I don't want to be carrying 5 more books over into the month of October, because we gotta get ourselves ready for spooky season, that's for sure. Overall, the month of August was quite the reading slump. I was able to make my way through 2 very chunky over 700-page books, so very excited about that. Of my completed books, I listened to 68 hours of audio listening time, which equates to about 2,127 pages. Definitely a lot lower than I usually have in previous months, though I do think a fair number of that has been included in kind of some of the books that I'm carrying over into next month. Thank you so much for joining me today for my August recap. I hope you have a wonderful day, whether it's morning, noon, or night, and I hope your current read is a 5-star.